Welcome to Gold Journal's Indian Premier League cricket match review. Imagine building a mountain, like this incredibly safe, impenetrable fortress of a score, something well north of 240 runs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the world of T20 cricket, a total, that usually means the game is effectively over before the second half even begins.
Right. The sheer scoreboard pressure is, it's just designed to mentally crush the opposition.
Exactly. You totally expect to watch the opposing batters just crumble trying to chase an impossible required run rate.
Yeah, it's the kind of total where you start resting your premier fast bowlers, right? Like you're already planning for the next game.
Oh, for sure. Statistically speaking, chasing down anything near 240 requires not just skill, but absolute perfection. Every single batter needs to fire.
Every matchup needs to be won.
Right. And you need a really healthy dose of luck on top of all that.
But so, for you listening today, we're going to do a deep dive into a match that completely shattered that conventional wisdom.
Oh, it really did.
We are looking at this just mind-boggling scenario where Mumbai piled up well over 240 runs, only to watch Hyderabad casually stroll right through the front gates of that fortress without even breaking a sweat.
Yeah. It wasn't just a loss. It was a systematic, terrifying dismantling.
Completely. Of a team that, on paper, looks like an invincible juggernaut.
And what makes this deep dive so fascinating is that the collapse had very little to do with raw talent.
Right. It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's a masterclass in how subtle psychological shifts, rigid tactical dogma, and, a profoundly fractured dressing room can cause a world-class sporting machine to just completely short-circuit.
So let's start unraveling this from the very beginning, before a single ball was even bowled.
The toss.
Exactly, the toss. Because while Mumbai actually did the hard part by scoring all those runs, the captain, Hardik made this tactical blunder at the toss that honestly feels like cricket heresy.
Oh, it was wild.
He won the toss at the Wankhede Stadium for a night match, and he voluntarily chose to bat first.
Which is, it's a decision that defies almost universally accepted modern cricket strategy.
It's like building an impenetrable fortress, but leaving the front gate wide open at night.
Right.
Right? Why would a captain ignore the reality of the dew factor on a pitch that is notoriously flat?
Well, to understand why that is such a massive unforced error, you have to understand the physical reality of that dew factor you mentioned.
Right.
In places like Mumbai, when the sun goes down, condensation settles really heavily on the outfield grass.
Mm-hmm.
By the second half of the match, the fielding team is essentially playing with a wet bar of soap.
Yeah, because that moisture transfers directly onto the leather ball.
Exactly.
And if you are a fast bowler, you rely on the friction between your fingers and the seam of the ball to bowl, like a lethal Yorker or a deceptive slower ball.
But if the ball is soaking wet, it slips. Your entire margin for error just evaporates.
And if you were a spinner, you rely on the ball gripping the pitch to change direction. But on a wet pitch, a wet ball just skids straight on.
Right, and the batters absolutely love that skid.
Oh, they feed on it.
We often talk about batters hitting through the line, which basically means trusting the trajectory of the ball.
Right.
On a dry pitch, a ball might stop or spin or bounce unpredictably. It forces the batter to hesitate, or adjust their swing.
But on a wet, dew-covered pitch, the ball comes onto the bat with this beautiful, predictable speed.
Yes. The batter can just plant their front foot and swing with total freedom. So by choosing to bat first, Hardik voluntarily handed Hyderabad that massive physical advantage for the second half of the game.
It's just baffling stubbornness.
Right.
But here is the crazy paradox. Despite completely ignoring the reality of the conditions, Mumbai's batting actually clicked.
It really did.
And they did this despite having a totally unstable opening partnership. They have been running a revolving door at the top of the order all season.
Oh, yeah. It's been musical chairs.
First, it was Rohit Sharma with Rickelton. Then they swapped Rohit for Quinton de Kock to pair with Rickelton. Then it was de Kock and Danish.
Right.
And recently they landed on de Kock alongside Will Jacks.
And typically, that kind of musical chairs completely destabilizes a team's rhythm. An opening partnership relies heavily on unspoken communication.
Yeah, knowing exactly how your partner reacts to pressure.
Exactly. But somehow, they pushed through it.
They really did. Rickelton played completely out of his skin. He blasted what has to go down as one of the fastest, most brutal centuries in Mumbai's history.
Unbelievable knock.
And the middle order didn't let off the gas at all. Will Jacks found incredible form, Namandir capitalized, and even Hardik Pandya himself delivered heavily with the bat.
Yeah, everyone chipped in. Well, almost everyone.
Right. The only real misfire was Suryakumar Yadav, who, failed to meet expectations yet again, but they still posted an absolute mammoth total.
They did.
So you're sitting in the Mumbai dugout, you've got 240 on the board, and you're about to hand the ball to Jasprit Bumrah and Trent Boult.
The feeling in that dugout should have been just, supreme confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jasprit Bumrah is arguably the most feared bowler on the planet. Trent Boult is lethal with the new ball. But this is where the on-paper dominance begins to unravel.
Right, and it starts with a very specific historical matchup. Jasprit Bumrah versus Hyderabad's aggressive opener, Abhishek Sharma.
Yes. And historically, Bumrah has treated Abhishek like a minor inconvenience.
Just total domination.
Total. Before this match, Bumrah had gotten Abhishek out twice, conceding something minuscule, like around 17 runs total across all their encounters.
Wow.
Yeah, Abhishek usually looks completely clueless against him.
But Bumrah did something incredibly out of character here. He completely abandoned his core strengths.
He really did.
If you look at the footage leading up to this matchup, Bumrah had been watching how other significantly less dangerous bowlers were handling Abhishek.
Right, guys like Jacob Duffy, Shashank Singh, Mohammad Shami.
Exactly. And they had been getting Abhishek out by taking the pace off the ball.
Yeah.
Using slower, deceptive deliveries.
So the most lethal, high-pace Yorker specialist in the world decides to play copycat.
Yes. Instead of terrorizing Abhishek with raw speed and precision, Bumrah tries to outsmart him with a slower ball.
And Abhishek picks it up instantly and just deposits it into the stands for a massive 6.
It feels like a guy who is completely second-guessing his own superpower. I mean, how does a bowler's rhythm just get destroyed when they over-experiment like that?
Well, it is the absolute definition of losing your internal rhythm. When a master craftsman abandons the tools that made him great to mimic the apprentices, it signals this subtle internal panic.
Right, he overcalculated.
Exactly. Instead of dictating the terms of engagement, he was reacting. But honestly, that single 6 wasn't even the most damaging psychological blow to the Mumbai bowling attack.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah.
Because we have to talk about the 15-year-old.
Oh, boy.
Vaibhav Suryavanshi.
Yeah.
This kid walks out to face Jasprit Bumrah, a bowler who usually has international veterans shaking in their boots.
Literally shaking.
And this teenager steps up and hits Bumrah for 2 incredibly confident, aggressive 6s.
You really cannot overstate the psychological impact of that moment. Bumrah's greatest weapon isn't just his physical pace. It is his aura.
Yeah.
It is the palpable fear he instills in the opposition.
I absolutely love the analogy of Bumrah as the underworld boss or the Gunda.
It's perfect.
Right. For years, Bumrah was the untouchable mob boss of the bowling world. Every batter in the league knew that you don't mess with the boss.
You just don't do it.
You don't try to attack him. You just keep your head down, try to survive his overs, and look to score your runs against the other bowlers.
Exactly. But the moment a 15-year-old kid walks up, punches the underworld boss square in the jaw, and completely gets away with it.
The illusion of invincibility vanishes.
Completely. That invisible psychological shield was just shattered into a million pieces.
Wow.
Once the Hyderabad batters realized that Bumrah could bleed, that collective suffocating fear just evaporated.
Yeah.
You could watch the shift happen in real time.
Yeah, batters who would normally defend for their lives were suddenly just teeing off. I mean, later in the innings, a player named Salil was casually hitting no-look 6s against Bumrah.
The disrespect.
The disrespect is off the charts. That is a batter telling the bowler, I am so unbothered by your pace that I don't even need to watch the ball leave the bat.
And that destroys a fast bowler's margin for error. Fast bowling relies heavily on the batter, hesitating, second-guessing their footwork out of self-preservation.
Right.
Once the batter feels superior, they commit entirely to their shots. Combine that fearless mindset with a flat pitch and a wet, dew-soaked ball that Bumrah is struggling to grip.
And you have a total system failure.
Total.
Which triggers a terrifying ripple effect across the entire team. Because once your primary weapon fails, panic sets in, and you start desperately applying tactical Band-Aids.
Yeah, though Mumbai did have one fleeting, massive moment of hope in the middle there.
Oh, true. They brought in Ghazanfar.
Right, and he bowled an absolute miracle of an over, taking the wickets of both Abhishek Sharma and Ishan back-to-back.
Yeah, for a second you thought Mumbai might actually claw their way back and reestablish control.
But the counterattack from Hyderabad was just ferocious.
It really was.
Heinrich Klaasen, who had been heavily criticized by fans and analysts all season for struggling with a bizarrely low strike rate, suddenly woke up and just unleashed his raw power.
And Travis Head, who has been notoriously inconsistent lately, he joined the party too.
They just capitalized on the bleeding.
Though, we have to mention, Mumbai didn't help themselves in the field. Namantir dropped 2 incredibly crucial catches.
Brutal. And at this level, drops aren't just mistakes. They are complete momentum killers.
Yeah, they drain the energy out of your own bowlers while giving the opposition a massive adrenaline spike.
Catches win matches. It's an old cliche because it's true. But, the bigger story during this counterattack was the frantic, panicked bowling changes.
Right, the tactical panic.
Mumbai's leadership was frantically searching for a magic trick, and they fell back on traditional textbook rules that simply do not apply to modern T20 cricket anymore.
Oh, like bringing in Will Jacks, an off-spinner, specifically to bowl to Abhishek Sharma, a left-handed batter.
Exactly.
So let's unpack why that is considered a textbook move and why it fails so spectacularly.
Okay, so in traditional cricket theory, you bring an off-spinner against a left-hander because the ball turns away from the batter's body.
Right.
If a left-hander tries to aggressively hit against that outward spin, physics dictates they are highly likely to get a top edge and hit the ball straight up in the air for an easy catch.
So it is supposed to be a mathematically safe matchup.
Right. In the 1990s, that rule was gospel.
But modern franchise batters like Abhishek have completely evolved beyond it.
Yo, totally. They use heavier bats, they train for raw power, and they simply do not care which way the ball is spinning.
Yeah, if the off-spinner tosses the ball up into their hitting arc, they will use their core strength to absolutely muscle it into the stands, completely negating the turn.
Exactly. Abhishek completely ignored the textbook and hit Will Jacks for massive sixes, proving that relying on outdated cricket theory in a pressure cooker is a recipe for disaster.
And the panic infected the fast bowlers too, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Ishan Malinga came in and bled 28 or 29 runs in his 4 overs, which is a brutally expensive economy rate when you're trying to defend.
Yeah. And Praful Hinge was aggressively targeted and dismantled every single time he tried to use pace variations.
Well, why?
Because the Hyderabad batters were expecting the variations. When a team is panicking, they become predictable.
Right, instead of sticking to their strengths.
Exactly. Instead of bowling fast, full, and aggressively at the stumps, which is hard to do with a wet ball, admittedly, the Mumbai bowlers were overcalculating.
They were bowling defensive slower balls, hoping the batters would make a mistake.
But against elite, locked-in hitters like Klaasen and Head, bowling defensively just gives them more time to pick their spot in the crowd.
Wow. Which brings us to the most uncomfortable, undeniable undercurrent of this entire collapse.
The locker room.
Yeah. All this on-field panic, all this reactive captaincy, it points directly to a massive leadership void. We have to talk about Hardik Pandya and the colossal, suffocating legacy of Rohit Sharma.
And the timing of this specific match makes the dynamic almost uncomfortably poetic.
Right, because this collapse happened exactly on Rohit Sharma's birthday.
You literally cannot script a starker contrast.
Imagine the dressing room environment. Sitting quietly in the corner is Rohit Sharma, a guy who isn't just a player. He is absolute cricketing royalty.
We are talking about a man with over 20,000 international runs to his name.
Incredible.
A man who has hit 3 one-day international double centuries, including that mythical 264 that, frankly, might never be broken.
Yeah, plus 4 T20 centuries.
And most importantly for this specific locker room, he is the man who captained Mumbai to 5 separate IPL titles.
He built the culture of that franchise.
He is the culture. And then you have Hardik Pandya, who was brought in to replace him, tasked with taking over a team that arguably didn't want to be taken over.
Right. Now, to be fair to Hardik, his resume isn't blank. He proved he could lead by taking the Gujarat Titans to 2 consecutive IPL finals, winning the championship in his first year.
Sure, but there is a massive asterisk next to that success in Gujarat, isn't there?
Oh, the Nehra factor.
Exactly. The consensus is that while Hardik was the face on the field, the coach, Ashish Nehra, was the real tactical mastermind.
Right. Nehra was famously always on the boundary line, practically holding the joystick, making all the tactical adjustments.
And that is a very valid critique, especially when you contrast it with Hardik's extreme hesitancy since taking over Mumbai.
Yeah, a truly great captain has to be willing to walk into the fire. They have to want the hardest jobs.
But we've seen Hardik actively shy away from the heat.
Like in that crucial previous match against Chennai, he refused to bowl the decisive, high-pressure final over.
Exactly. And in this match, when Suryakumar Yadav is clearly struggling and the team needs an anchor, Hardik refuses to promote himself up the batting order to take charge of the situation.
He's managing the team like a middle manager, terrified of making a mistake, rather than a leader imposing his will on the game.
That's a great way to put it.
But wait, I actually want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay.
Is this systemic failure entirely Hardik's fault? He proved he can win elsewhere. If Hardik is out there trying to set a field or formulate a plan, and a locker room full of veteran legends just crosses their arms, rolls their eyes, and flat out refuses to help him out, aren't those bruised egos just as responsible for the collapse?
See, that is the crucial question of shared responsibility. A captain is really only as good as the counsel he receives.
Right.
In a functional, healthy cricket team, the senior players are constantly in the captain's ear. They are noticing subtle shifts in the wind, suggesting bowling changes, helping calibrate the field.
There is a constant dynamic flow of give and take.
Exactly. But in the Mumbai setup right now, that communication channel appears completely dead.
And the seeds for that dysfunction were planted months ago in plain sight. I mean, the friction when Hardik was first appointed was incredibly public.
Oh, it was everywhere.
Kieran Pollard, who is an absolute legend and pillar of the Mumbai franchise, posted a highly cryptic status on social media.
I remember that.
He wrote, "Once the rain is over, an umbrella becomes a burden."
Which, doesn't take a literary scholar to decode.
Not at all.
He was heavily implying that Rohit Sharma, the umbrella who protected the franchise and weathered the storms to win 5 titles, was suddenly being discarded as a burden the moment the sun came out.
Exactly. And the dominoes just kept falling. Jasprit Bumrah posted his own cryptic message talking about silence.
Yeah.
And Surya Kumar Yadav simply posted a broken heart emoji.
You do not need an advanced degree in sports psychology to realize that the core leadership group of this team felt deeply betrayed.
So when you parachute an aggressive new captain into a room full of fiercely loyal, deeply uncooperative veterans, you get absolute paralysis.
Hardik simply doesn't have the diplomatic capital to order these legends around, and the veterans lack the professional desire to proactively help him succeed.
So you have a situation where the team starts leaking runs. The dew is making the ball impossible to grip.
The underworld boss Bumrah is getting dispatched into the stands by a 15-year-old kid.
And instead of the team huddling together, combining their decades of experience to solve the crisis,
Everyone retreats to their own isolated islands. There is no unified brain trust. There's just 11 guys individually panicking.
it is the anatomy of a collapse. A 240-run total provides a massive physical buffer, but it clearly cannot protect a team from its own internal rot.
Not at all.
So bringing this all together for you listening, we started by asking how an impenetrable fortress of 240 runs falls with such terrifying ease.
And we've seen that it had very little to do with the actual bats and ball.
Right. It was a perfect cascading storm. It began with an incredibly stubborn captaincy decision at the toss, voluntarily giving the opposition the immense physical advantage of the do factor.
It compounded when the psychological armor of the greatest fast bowler in the world was shattered by a fearless teenager, destroying the collective rhythm and aura of the entire bowling attack.
Which immediately led to panicked, reactive tactical changes, trying to use textbook off-spin theory against modern power hitters and bowling predictable defensive variations instead of trusting their aggressive core strengths.
And beneath all of those physical and tactical failures was the rotting foundation of a completely fractured dressing room.
A team unable to communicate, unwilling to unite under a new leader, while the ghost of their legendary 5-time championship captain sat silently watching on his birthday.
It is a phenomenal reminder that the game is played on grass, but it is won and lost in the mind.
It really leaves you with a fascinating question to ponder. In the modern era of franchise sports, where literally every single team is packed with elite, world-class talent, what is actually the most important trait for a captain?
That's the big question.
Is it being a supreme tactical genius, knowing exactly the mathematical probability of an off-spinner against a left-hander? Or is it entirely about political and diplomatic skill?
Yeah, the sheer emotional intelligence required to manage the massive bruised egos of superstars and somehow convince them to pull the rope in the exact same direction.
It's something to deeply consider the next time you look at a scorecard and see a team that looks unbeatable on paper. Thank you. See you soon with upcoming matches.